The second of the 3 starting frames, Mag is the one that's probably chosen the least. But why is that, you may ask? For a long while, Mag was considered an overpowered frame, but after her rework, many have seen her as better than before. Now, as always, before we get to statistics, I need to give my disclaimer. A build for a frame or weapon seen in these videos doesn't mean they are the one to go with. Experiment with mods and find the build that works for your playstyle. The information in this will also be based on the version of the game that will be displayed on screen as of the making of this video. So if something seems outdated, it's most likely because it is. Okay? Let's dive in. Stat-wise, Mag is a little on the fragile side. While having low health, she makes up for it in boasting high shields despite having very low armor. Mag's passive ability is called Magnetic Attraction. Every time Mag bullet jumps, nearby pickups will be pulled in towards her, similar to a Sentinel's vacuum. If you remember back from the Excalibur inside the frame, you might recall Dracoville being described while going over Radial Javelin. This ability, particularly its augment, was a huge play in it before the augment got its rework. Pull generates a strong magnetic current that pulls the enemies in a cone towards Mag. As the area of effect is in a cone, it'll only work on enemies that are directly in front of Mag when casting it, though it does have a small circular area in which enemies from behind can be affected only if they are within said circle. This ability synergizes with Mag's Magnetize by dealing more damage to magnetized enemies. The augment, Greedy Pull, is where Mag became a player in Dracoville. Greedy Pull allows both enemies and pickup to be affected by pull. Prior to update 16.11, the augment would work for all squad members. After this update, it now only works from the Mag casting pull. Speaking of Magnetize, that's what we'll be covering next. Magnetize, originally known as Bolt Attract, creates a magnetic bubble that surrounds a target, locking them into place and attracting any firepower. Magnetized enemies take more damage from pull and attract shards from Polarize. The augment, Magnetize Discharge, allows for the ability to be recasted on the target bubble to detonate, and enemies hit by the blast have a 50% chance of disarming nearby enemies while also increasing Magnetize's radius. Before, this ability wasn't as viable until its rework. Polarize emits a radial pulse that strips enemies of both their shields and armor. This, in effect, creates shards that can be affected by magnetized enemies, causing more damage. Polarize can also slightly refresh shields of nearby allies. Counterpulse, the augment, can cause enemies' weapons to jam and disable robotic enemies for a short time for those hit by Polarize. Want to deal some major damage to your foes? Crush lifts enemies up in the air and crushes their bodies in 3 segments. Additionally, Crush can replenish shields of allies and companions, and can even give overshields. Fracturing Crush, the augment, can affect survivors by having their armor reduced and be unable to move for a short time. As far as modding goes, Mag can be seen as a tactical frame. As always, Flow or Prime Flow can increase the energy pool. Mods such as Steel Fiber, Stand United, and Armored Agility can give Mag additional armor. Strength mods such as Intensify and Blind Rage can increase the damage output for all of Mag's abilities. Duration mods such as Continuity and Constitution can increase the duration of Polarize and Magnetize. Range mods such as Stretch and Overextended can increase the range of all of Mag's abilities. As for my build, Energy Siphon is my go-to aura for my frames. with the exception of Hildren. Greedy Pull is a good utility for Mag for getting pickups. Prime Vigor increases Mag's health and shields. Quick Thinking is a lifesaver in many situations in battle, along with Constitution, Intensify, Stretch, Prime Flow, and Prime Continuity. In battle situation, here's how to use Mag in an offensive style. Start off using Polarize, next select a target and use Magnetize, then use a combination of both Pull and Crush. If you feel you need to fall back and rely on your weapons, don't feel discouraged to do so. And with that concludes our look at Mag. Next up, we'll be looking at the last of the 3 starter frames, Volt. So if you tend to have anything you'd like to add for that, feel free to leave a comment below. Just remember, if you are ever surrounded, Mag can be a solution to that problem, as she is a manipulator of foes. Until then, stay true, Tenno.